Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And now that the entire meta has released for the Visions of Coleus team, now we are going to go into Inferno 3 of Beatdown Battle and attempt to clear it. Not only with the current meta, but also taking care of some of the missions that were associated with it. I did complete them all. The hardest ones are probably, well, the most specific ones are going to be like, living, everyone alive, blah, blah, blah. But then there's also complete with a full magic team, and also complete it with 3 4-star units on the team, or, units that started out as 4-star units. So that'll probably be the most difficult mission for most people who don't have the entire full meta. So this is what it's going to look like if you really want to attempt it. We've got Lumi, we've got 4-star free-to-play Geld, 4-star free-to-play Water Rimuru. Bringing a water unit, especially into Inferno 3, is a risky thing, so, I mean, if you have a different unit, you could bring, like, the 4-star Light Soka Protector unit that, got Orb Changing. I'm just going to bring him because he's a really good blue Orb Changer. Geld can give away a lot of the orbs to Jean or whoever else needs them. But we have the 3 primary, single target damage dealers. So even though we're missing 2 buffing units, the power that we're going to have from these 3 all being single targets while getting the synergy and, all this extra stacks of attack will make it so that we can nuke down this Hinata, who happens to have, 1.9 million HP and hits like a goddamn truck. So, as far as, like, just trying to beat it normally, there are just a bunch of substitutions you could use as far as supports. You're gonna need either Violet or Jean, realistically, because Inferno 3 is, it's not child's play. It's not, I just started 3 days ago and I have the meta, but I have no gear, and I have no bond level, and I have no stats. Like, that's not what Inferno 3 is. You go watch, like, the EX2 video or something instead. But this is for people that have decent gear, who have a decent box, and who have other options as far as substitutions are concerned. So, like, if you don't want to attempt the 4-star mission, like, don't bring Aqua, don't bring Albus, because, they're pierce based and you don't want to pierce, you don't want to crit. If you don't have Blanc, you could bring Summer Shizu. You could even bring Warrior's Mind Rimuru and attempt to just launch off a bunch of EX ults because he has second skill. Just anybody who's magic, like Space Millum. I'm not bringing Cleash, but you can bring Cleash. Water Reamer's gonna take care of our green orb changes, but if you need one, she is a single target space unit technically. I mean, there's a number of other substitutions as far as buffs are concerned. If you don't have Jean and you need an alt buff, you could bring Water Shuna if you want to play that dangerous game. You could, of course, bring Guy or Megamine for the alt buff and the orb changing as well. Like, there's a number of supports, you just kind of have to work with what you got. But this is Inferno 3, first and foremost. So we're going to do this initial run right here. We'll probably go at extra speed, so I'm not going to, talk over it live. But then, earlier today, as of recording this video, we did a bunch of different runs live, just to see what other full meta teams would work against Inferno 3. So I didn't record full runs, but I recorded what happens if you attempt to bring certain metas into the stage, and see how they do. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so like I said, we're going to do this at a little bit higher speed than normal. This is the first team that we showed off using the full magic and the double 4-stars, and it just goes to show that even if you have lower tier options, and especially one of them who's type disadvantage, as long as you can do plenty of damage, you're going to be fine. And, remember, Jean herself is a very competent nuker as long as you build the team around her, and this team is very much built around her. It's got a bunch of orb changers, you've got the capability of using a bunch of big-time buffs to make her do a lot of damage, and as long as you can do that, she's a fantastic damage-dealing unit. And Jean and Blanc and Violet are also no slouches either when you're running this much support, even though 2 of our units are pure orb changers and no other support. We have the stacks from Lumi, We have the magic buff from Violet. We have the weakness buff and the synergy resistance from Blanc. And then we have Jean's own personal buffs. And so, you know, with everything said and done, the fact that we're able to give away orbs with Geld like this and get just 6 orbs of Jean means that we can get her ult very quickly. And by the time we hit turn 8, like, Hinata only has 2 million health, right? And we have done multiple videos now showing that Jean, on a full setup, right, can do like 6.5 million. Again, we don't need 6.5 million damage here. We just need to do 2. And technically less than that, because we're hurting her the entire way down. Like, she's lost a sizable chunk of health off of her 2 million. So we don't even need to do 1.9. We need like 1.5. And yeah, this team is going to run just fine. Now, also, yes, you do need the entire meta to run this. And, you know, if you're a new player, you probably won't have Rimuru and Geld because you got to get them out of the flashback and you got to level them up. But again, this is Inferno 3. This is not playtime. This Hinata hits like a bunch of trucks. And, you know, I've had units die in here. Like, we're going to get very close on some of our guys. And if you take a bunch of counters, you're going to lose somebody. Like, you could get very, very... Like, look at this. Jean's already down to, like, a nut tap of health. So, there's only so much you can do here. If RNG hates you, like this, where we have no blue orbs, then RNG is just going to hate you, and there's really nothing you can do about it. But we can't leave her up front anymore. Like, so we're not going to get her EX ult. We have a Blanc ult, which is fine. We're very close to a Violet ult, and that's all we're really going to need. Like, once we get to the actual nuke turn, you're going to see the actual power coming off of this team, even though we don't have EX ults. Even though we're not using, like, 2 more support units. Like, it's just not necessary. So, turn 7, her defense leaves on turn 8. We're going to get a full hand here. I should have... Okay, I do use Geld's Orb Change here. I do decide to bring in Rimuru because he's full HP. Probably not the best idea. Because, you know, she's very strong. She hits like a truck. She's also type advantage. And Rimuru, if he had taken a counter here, he would have died. Because Hinata just decides that she doesn't want him to be around anymore. Yeah, like 2 hits and he's down to red. It's not great. But here's the nuke. Let me slow it down a little bit back to 100%, just so we can see what actually transpires here. So we have multiple stacks, like I think 9 or 10 stacks with Valentine. Not all of them went on everybody. We just had, we had to keep Jean out of here, so it shouldn't take any more hits. But 1, 2, 3, 4 buffs. That's it. We have enough points to use it. We've got orb changers. We have 3 normal ults, and we're gonna send it, and it's gonna look hilarious because Blanc does 1 million. Violet does 1.4 million. That's 2.5 million damage. Remember that Hinata only has 1.9. We didn't even get to Jean's ult. She probably would have killed by herself. Like, the amount of just raw damage coming off of just 3 units plus the protector is insane. So you don't need 2 more support units. Like, you don't need more damage to clear Inferno 3. You just need to be able to live long enough to nuke her. And quite honestly, I think we would have been fine if we had 3 ults on turn 7 and we had enough points to use everything, because we still probably would have killed her, even with her defense up. So that's that. That's, 2 of the hardest missions. Right? Full magic, which maybe isn't the hardest, but definitely 2 4-stars, so it can work. Let's move on. Okay, I won't show you this entire run, but the team that we're using now is assuming that you only have Violet, right? You have Violet and you have Lumi, and that's all you pulled. You didn't have Blanc, you didn't have Jean. We've got Space Milim, we've got the free-to-play Cliche, and then in the backline we do have, once I decide to get a run, we do have Shizu, Summer Shizu, and then Rimuru, so I guess you also pulled him. But definitely not the highest damaging team in the world. We do have the weakness buff from Shizu, and we do have the ability to swap out the ult, which is important. Violet and Milim are going to be our DPS units. Milim isn't getting the extra 60% buff, but she will get the 12% attack stacks from Lumi. She's also got the space buff to help both her and Violet out. She's got the Drago effect, which will enhance the buffs that are placed on her. Rimuru with his Unity Orbs will help us get the EX ult for Violet if we get a very good hand. And I'm not going to show this entire run, but I mean, we know how this is going to go. It's just blue stacking, but let's go forward until we use the Unity Orbs. So, okay, so here we go. So we have 2 ults, we're going to swap Rimuru in, and then we can use the Rimuru Orb Change. We can steal, like, we can yoink the 1 orange, and then we can use Violet's Orb Change to get the rest of it going. And then we can use the Unity to turn all those into rainbows, which is then going to get us maximum gauge for everything. We're going to send this Cliche because I don't really care. And there's, you know, max points, almost a double stack of Lumi, and an EX ult for Violet. 31k, I don't care. I do not care. Counterattack, again, like... This is still Inferno 3. You don't want counters. If you take more than like 3 or 4 counters, you might as well just reset the run because someone's gonna die. Like, yeah, someone's gonna get real close to death. And this is a 112 Violet with very, very good gear on. So things can not go your way if you get complacent. So here we're gonna attempt to get all of the buffs on both Violet and Milim because they are, you know, our single target nukers. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite work out like that, and we didn't get the Cliche like I was hoping for, which ends up kind of hurting us on the nuke run. And then she take a counter, so cool. 6,000 on a counter. And then, so here we go, we have an unfortunate turn. We have 4 Rimuru orbs, and we have 2 Shizu orbs, and no Cliche orbs, which means that someone is not going to get the Shizu buff. So, the more important way, the best way to do this is to make sure that Violet, being the EX ult, has more buffs. So we'll swap Rimuru out, we'll use the Weakness Strike here, at least on her, that way she can get fully buffed up, and then we'll swap out Shizu for Milim, and then we have, you know, 1 more stack. We can have the space buff, we can have the magic resistance down, and we can have the magic buff on, you know, our 2 nukers. The Drago will enhance some of that. And then we can also orb change into a full hand of blues. So we got 6 orbs here, and then we'll send them. So Milim does 336, not great. Violet does almost 1,000,000, close, but she's doing 130 something per, you know, normal orb. So that was able to save us. So you can, you know, not have Jean and Blanc, and as long as you have some substitutions, you can make it work. Did I really need like Summer Shizu on this team? Kinda not really. Like, obviously, like, we didn't end up killing on either of the 2 nukes. You know, Milim wasn't at full power because she didn't have the weakness buff, but I mean, if we don't have Shizu at all, then you could bring in like a skill fuse space Rimuru or something. You could bring in, you know, light 3.0 Milim for the attack buff. You know, there's a few other units you could bring. I don't know if it would work, but let's show off 1 more full team, and then we'll get to like the failed runs-ish, or whatever, trial runs during the stream. Okay, so ignoring my stupid phase, because this was done, you know, during the stream, this is the Vengeance team. Like, we've already beaten this once with the Vengeance, because we did it during the Soe skill fusion, but it wasn't very clearly listed as, you know, clearing Inferno 3 with Vengeance, so we're going to put it in the Inferno 3 video. We're already on turn 7, though, because greens are nerfed until turn 8, right? And this team is running off green. So the team, as it stands right now, is Raphael, skill-fused trainee, because she has the ability to either nerf the crit power, or the pierce power of Hinata, which she has a lot, and cut the ult damage in half, which is really important, alongside the heal, because we know Hinata on Inferno 3 hits really hard. So being able to keep us topped up, lower her damage on her ult, seal her attack and her crit and her pierce and everything to begin with, and then, you know, the guard will help. The physical resistance off Yom doesn't really matter, because she's, well, actually it does matter. But, you know, we've got Raphael, Trainee, Yom, free-to-play Sufia, free-to-play Isis. So 1, 2, 3 free-to-play units. An OG unit that is, you know, level 100 with the skill fusion, and then the best unit in the game, alongside probably the best protector in the game. So it does work very well, because we're on turn 8 and no one's dead. We're all looking, you know, really good health-wise. And at this point, it's the Vengeance team, which is you will kill by damage over time. You're not going to clear it in 12 turns. You're not going to do millions of damage immediately. You're whittling Hinata down with the Vengeance effect. And, you know, we haven't taken that much off. We only have 21 stacks because greens are nerfed for 8 turns, which means you're not going to get, you know, a lot of Velzard stacks. You're not going to get a lot of, you know, Vengeance counterattacks. You're going to have a lot of turns without anything. And, you know, the most important thing to do this entire time is to make sure that you take as little damage as possible. So keeping her sealed multiple turns in a row is going to be probably the most important thing. And then, you know, using the alt damage resistance maybe a couple turns prior or on the nuke turn that Hinata's going to hit you, it is, you know, going to be very key into keeping yourself alive. So turn 9, we're going to bring Trainee in. She still has all the resistances and the weakness or the Vengeance counterattack. We're going to, let's see, what do we do here? Since this is live, I'm not trying to go as quickly as possible. We're going to double Vengeance, so 30 stacks of that. And we'll put the Vengeance counterattack back on, reset all of our skill costs. I mean, it is what it is. So, and I don't know how else to explain it. We're going to kill her. Let's just fast forward. So we're on turn 12 now. And we've got 43 stacks. So 1, 2, 3, 46, 272,000. And she has, I think, 400 something left. So the next turn is going to kill her, but turn 14 will. So we just, again, have to live. And we'll kill her eventually. So yeah, there we go. Turn 14 comes around, and we end up killing her on normal orbs, actually, hilariously enough, without the Vengeance. But the Vengeance did do all 99.9999% of the work. So the Vengeance team can get it done, even with 3 free-to-play units. And I think that just goes to show the power of having Raphael more than anything else. Because if you have Raphael, you can survive, and you will eventually kill everything. So Vengeance will take out Inferno 3 with, I wouldn't say minimal effort, but it will be a very more simple turn because she just cannot kill you. But you gotta have Vengeance to do Vengeance, which is the whole problem. Okay, so the first, you know, stream team that we did is the Light 3.0 team. Raphael is skill fused, which means he's giving the 40% stun strike to Otherworld Legend and New Year's Blessing units. So we have all 3 we have all 3 alts. We have the Milim AoE alt, and then the single target here, and the single target here. And even though she's got, you know, a lot of pierce resistance, we've been stacking so much pierce power that it's kind of not really going to matter. And also, on this team, we have been using the skill-fused Octagram Lumi, which means that we have an additional 80% alt damage on top of everything else. So Milim does have an alt effect, Lumi has an alt effect, so we gotta send Milim first to make sure that we get everything out of here. And then we'll send these orbs. And then Milim, I mean, actually we do good damage here. So she's got 80% pierce resistance, and we've got 100% pierce power on top of everything else that we've done. So, gonna go ahead and send this, and Milim does... I guess I sit here and watch it, okay, sure. Okay, I missed that. I missed how much damage we did. But we're going fast. I mean, Raphael did almost 1 million by himself. So, I mean, that's pretty good. That's how much, you know, the second team Violet did with the EX ult. So, I mean, the Light 3.0 can definitely get Inferno 3 done. It's just that you gotta get real lucky. You can't take any counters, because now you don't even have type advantage to help, you know, buck some of the damage that you're gonna take. It's gonna be kind of sketchy, and you need the entire Light 3.0 team. So, I think here I'll bring it up real fast for you. The team that I actually used for it. Yeah. Yes, I used this team. Where did OBS go? Okay, so yeah, Shuna, Milim, Octagram Lumi, Light Raphael, Megamine for the orb change, and then Light Lumi. So You know, you're getting the 45% attack, 30% light resistance down, 80% alt damage buff, the stun strike on across, you know, all 3 of the nuking units, Megamine for the alt buff and the orb changing, and then Lumi for her orb change, the light buff. You don't need her stun seal because you can stun Hinata at any point. So what I had to do on turn 7 for this, using this team, is I had to stun her early, because there was no way we were going to be able to take a couple more hits without losing someone. So I did have to stun in additional time, which does, you know, put the whole cost of the nuke turn up, but you should have enough points if you get pretty lucky. And if not, you can literally just keep stunning her until you do have enough points, or you do have a good run where you can nuke her down. So the Light 3.0 team, looking like this with Skill Fuse, is an option for you. But let's take a look at some other teams. Okay. Next up, I tried the Fount of Wisdom team. Physical Rimuru, Physical Albus with the Pierce and the Orb Change, Hinata as our EX Nuker, Diablo as our Protector. Well, it's 1, 2, 3. We do not use the Albus Pierce buff, though, because it would just nerf our damage. So we're going off of Hinata's attack buff, the alt buff, the physical buff that we're getting from Rimuru, and then we've got the alt resistance down from Diablo, defense down, and everything like that. And we don't do enough damage. So Hinata, yeah, physical buff right here, attack buff, and that's pretty much it. We've also been stacking her attack little by little using the Shizu from the World of Fantasy meta. So the Wind Shizu that's stacking attack on Fount of Wisdom and World of Fantasy. We've gotten a few stacks of that. And then I had someone else in the back that I cannot remember for the life of me. But, who was in the back? I don't even remember. Hold on. While that's going, I'll try and figure that out. Oh, it was Light Ruff. No, it was Dark Lumi. It was Dark Lumi for the 80% alt buff again. So we have the 40% from Hinata, the 80% from Lumi, so 120% alt. Albus does 292k, not an EX alt, and Hinata only managed to do 681. So the Fount of Wisdom team, as I have it set up, is not gonna cut it, unfortunately. And then, you know, Albus dies on turn 8, so. And then Shizu would almost die there, so didn't quite work out on this one. Okay, so next up is the Warriors Mind team. The 1.5 anniversary team is still good. We do have 2 space units. Unfortunately, they're not single targets, but you know, if we combine all of the buffs together, we should be able to work it out. The one change I do have to make here is instead of this Rimuru, the Fount of Wisdom Rimuru, I did swap him for Xion, the free-to-play Xion that came with the meta, because that's stacking crit damage, and she's also the orange orb changer, so that's the only difference. But, you know, our plan is to nuke with Guy single target, and then the 2 AoEs. That way, everyone has the physical buff and the crit resistance down. We have the crit damage and the alt resistance down. We have the crit and alt damage from Guy. We'll have EX alts for all 3 of them, because we've got Warrior's Mind Rimuru giving us maximum alt gauge. And then we've got Velzard with the 12% attack stacks. So this is the nuke turn right here, and we'll go ahead and play it. And it almost works. So the caveat here is that if my Violet and Lumi were a little bit higher duped, because Violet's level 100, she has no dupes, and Lumi has 1 dupe. If they were higher, I probably would have been able to clear this, because they do significant damage, even though they're AoEs with everything buffed. And, you know, even with the crit resistance that Hinata has, we're lowering it by 40%, so we're cutting it in half. So while we're still getting nerfed, technically, it's not as bad. So Lumi does 527 on an AoE. Violet does less than that, I think, because she's not, you know, she doesn't have a dupe in her. How much? Poison It Nova. So Lumi did 527, Violet does 561. Okay, Violet does more. And then 493. And then the follow-up. So we get close. So if we had dupes in the other 2, we probably would have cleared it, and then he kills Lumi. she kills Lumi. So fun. There's Shion coming in, so that's the orb changer. Maybe a few more crit stacks or something like that would have helped out. But the Warriors Mind Team, if it's high duped, can do it. Like, my guy is level 120, and he only did like 400k right there, even as a single target. So, you know, an option if you have more dupes in the space units, technically. Alright, that's going to do it for the attempts. Like, the Warriors Mind Team, I needed more dupes. The Fount of Wisdom team, I was not going to cut it. You would need triple alts, triple EX alts, and you would need some sort of other additional buff, since we're not using the Pierce buff that, you know, the Fount of Wisdom team is kind of using quite a bit. So that team's not going to work. We do have, you know, the full meta, half meta-ish team. The Light 3.0 team can definitely do it if you have all the necessary pieces of it. Vengeance obviously can clear anything in the game, so shock surprise right there. So there are options based on what you have, but if you're a newer player, I don't worry about it. Clearing Inferno 3 is not high on your list of priorities. You get 5 crystals out of it. You get a moat that you can't even use because it's only good for, you know, the old level 100 characters, the old 5 stars. So if you don't have anyone old that's at, you know, 100, you can't use this moat. So don't worry about it too much. But that's the Inferno 3 video. There's the proof of concept for a bunch of teams and some failed runs. But let me know what you guys think. That's it from me. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.